What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another NBA rundown. The All-Star break is over. I had a great time. I had a great vacation, but now it's back to work. We're going to be back with these rundowns almost every single day until the end of the regular season, knocking out the best bets, the best totals, the best props, and some DFS leans. With me today, I have Tyler Hicks and JSU. Tyler, how you doing today?
It's good. It feels like we haven't done this in forever, but it's only
I
been a
know.
week.
Yeah, I know it does. It's almost like it feels like I have a preseason feel when I dusted everything out today. JSU, what do you think about today? 2 days back, kind of easing us back into the NBA, and then after that, it's like monster slates for like 15 days in a row.
Yeah, for sure. This slate, it's definitely a little uglier of a slate than we'd like for the first game. I mean, what is going on with the NBA too, by the way? Like, how do we come back on a 2-game slate? There's no like nationally televised, like these games aren't like on ESPN or TNT. Like, what are they doing? Like, I don't understand. And then they give us 2 crappy games on top of it. Like, makes no sense.
Yeah, they're trying to get the NBA TV ratings up because that's what the San Antonio game will be on. But let's go ahead and start with the Wizards and the Grizzlies. But like I said, these aren't the best games, even from a fan's perspective. So let's talk about it. They played recently. The Grizzlies beat them pretty easily. It was a 125-111 loss, and that was on March 2nd. I think the only person coming back from All-Star Weekend, right, is going to be Bradley Beal. And, we might have a little bit of a Ja Morant snub angle here as well to look at. So let's start with you, Tyler. Right now, I'm seeing that this line is 237. Grizzlies laying 3.5 at home against the Wizards. What do you think?
I kind of like the Grizzlies here, but we could have got -1 yesterday when this outline opened on FanDuel.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I really don't want to take the -3. And I lean under here. With the extra rest, I think this is where they come out a little slower. And I think 237 is too high.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tough to go under on a Washington game, but the last game would have gone under this number at 236. JSU, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually don't mind the under call here. I think that's an interesting play. Memphis did handle them pretty easily last time out. D'Anthony Melton went off in that game, I'm pretty sure. Ja Morant had a really good game. Jovel, he struggled a little bit in the beginning of the game, kind of got it going towards the end. But I do think Memphis has the upper hand against a team like Washington, where I think they can beat them up inside. They have no answer for Ja in the paint, just getting in there. So I do think it's a spot where I lean the Memphis side as well. I'm seeing it at 3 still on DK Sportsbook, but yeah, I definitely like Memphis here, and I do like the undercall a little bit.
Yeah, let's see. It's 3.5 still on Bookmaker, 237 money line -158 for the Grizzlies. Yeah, I've been high on the Wizards, but I've been having problems nailing down this Grizzlies lineup and when they're going to show up. So when we're looking at this game from a DFS perspective, I see Russell Westbrook's 10-1, Bradley Beal's 9-4, Bertans is only 4-4. Memphis has got Ja Morant at 7,800. That looks quite appealing. And Valanciunas at 7,100 and slow-mo Kyle Anderson at 6,300. Who are your favorites from this game, JSU?
Yeah, I mean, if you watched the game last time out, you gotta like Ja a little bit again here. He was massive chalk last time out. He was like 50%, but he came out and had one of the bigger games of the season. Now he obviously followed that up with another 35-point performance, but almost 60 fantasy points in that game. Got it done in every which way, and the Wizards just had they had no one to kind of stop him at all. So I do expect this is another spot where Ja Morant could have a big game. I'm seeing this prop at 23.5 right now for points. I kind of like the over there. Obviously coming off 2 of his bigger games, but a spot against Washington is perfect for another big game. He's had 35 in his last 2. So from a DFS side, I expect him to be somewhat popular, but I do like his over on props points as well. Other guys, I think, I feel like Joe Val is priced, where there's some value here at 7,100 because he does have the upside for a 50 burger. And I do think a team like Washington, even in 27, 28 minutes, he could easily have his way inside. The question with him, to me, it feels like is always like foul trouble. Like he sometimes gets into foul trouble where it can cause issues. I will say, too, the last time they played, they were missing a few bodies. I'm pretty sure Kyle Anderson was out for that game. He's going to be back for this game. A few other guys were out. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I do definitely think that these guys will have some ownership for sure just because of where they're priced in the mid-tier, upper mid-tier section at the 7K range.
Yeah, I think less than 8K, they're going to be kind of appealing. May not be the stars and scrubs, though. Maybe more of a balanced lineup tonight as we get into the San Antonio game, and we see a lot of
the problem with the balanced lineup, though, is that the players in the mid-tier, like the lower mid-tier, like the 5K range, they aren't that good. They're obviously there are guys that you can play that are going to get run in the 4 and 5K range, but I don't know. I feel like it's interesting where the stars and scrubs build, some of these 4K guys, in my opinion, are pretty similar to some of the guys in the 5K range. Some of them might be better plays, in my opinion, than some of them in the 5K range. So that's where I feel like people are just going to have the money to spend up for like Westbrook and Doncic. So I'm interested to see what the ownership's going to be on a lot of this 7 and 8K range for fantasy.
Okay, yeah, I'll be interested too. Definitely, you're doing the to lock show tonight, right?
No, we don't have an up to lock show tonight, but I'll be in Discord. I'll have core plays up, and I'll be in Discord pretty much up until the game's locked. So,
are they doing the workbench show, the one with JT and Mangone and Big T, or is it just?
No, that'll be tomorrow. So tomorrow, people will get the workbench
I'm surprised
show.
we don't have more viewers then, because this is the only time you're going to be able to see JSU on screen talking about these games. But
it's the 2-gamer. I don't think they have much love for this 2-game slate here.
And to be fair, they're not high profile teams either, right? Like, even when the Spurs were winning 60 games, hard to get excited about this team. Tyler, I think we got a rest or rust situation kind of tonight. When you're looking at props, which way are you looking here? Do you think these guys come out and are they rested, ready to go, just firing right off the bat, or do you expect them to be a little rusty? And are you looking for some unders?
Not really looking for some unders. I mean, JSU touched on the John Morant points prop, and there's a different way I want to target that. I just want to take him as a top point scorer in this game at plus 450.
Okay, yeah.
It's literally you're literally just taking him to outscore Bradley Beal because nobody else on the floor is going to score as many points as either of them two guys. He outscored him in the last game, and Memphis has this weird thing going against guards where they've held their stats and held them under 25 points. They held Doncic to 21, they held Booker to 23, and they held SGA to 22. If Morant gets above 30, that plus 450 should cash because they should be able to hold Beal. They held him in the last game. They played him to 8 of 18 shooting.
All right. Well, yeah. And what would you attribute that to, JSU? Do you just think that like Dylan Brooks and I don't know, I guess Desmond Bane, DeAnthony Melton, do you think they're good defenders or think they're just easy to attack inside? Why do you think Memphis is having such success stopping guards?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they aren't bad defenders, right? Dylan Brooks, another guy who he can sometimes get into foul trouble too at times, but he plays kind of aggressive defensively and he works hard. I don't think he's a bad defender. Overall, I think Memphis, they do seem to do well with guards, like Tyler said. So again, though, we're talking about Bradley Beal. Like, I feel like it's one of those things where, yeah, I mean, defense is great and all, but Bradley Beal can in any game can pop off. I do agree with Tyler though that you're really just taking it and it's like a 1v1 matchup, right? It's literally Bradley Beal versus Ja Morant for who scores the most points. You know who Ja has to beat to pretty much cash that. So I do think that's a really interesting bet. I like it a lot because the only one I fear if I make that bet would be Bradley Beal.
And you get that slight extra motivation of him being quote unquote snubbed from the All-Star team like he felt. So he might come out gunning tonight.
Yeah, listen, the question with Ja Morant, like whenever you play him, it's all about when he gets into the paint, because if he is getting into the paint consistently and those floaters are going in, he's just about, it's unstoppable. Like you can't stop that unless you force him to pass, unless you hedge that ball screen and you either double him or you just force that hard hedge and force him to get rid of the ball. Because if he gets into the paint, it's just an easy bucket. Those floaters are just easy buckets. It's so hard to stop. He has that in and out move too. It's just it's really hard when he gets in there.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next game, because I think even though it's not the most interesting game, I do think it's a little more interesting than the Wizards and the Grizzlies, and that's the Spurs taking on the Mavericks. The Spurs are 18-14. The Mavericks are 18-16. So this game is definitely going to be meaningful when it comes to who's going to win that division. And boy, we had Luka in the All-Star game, and that's about it, right? So everyone on the Spurs should be rested. DeRozan, some people could say that was a snub. I don't necessarily believe so. I think there's a couple people ahead of him that were a little more deserving. But regardless, it should be a fun game there tonight. The total here is 226, and right now Dallas is laying 4. Tyler, you think that's wrong, though? Tell us why you like the Spurs, Tyler.
I like the Spurs here, but let me touch on that total beforehand, because I seen that opened at 219. It's up to 226 now.
Yeah.
I love the under there.
All right. You got 2 unders for us. So that's a little bit of rest there. I don't mind either of those. I'm going to go ahead and place both those bets while you run it down.
Yeah, but back to the Spurs side, I mean, they're likely getting back Rudy Gay, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Derek White tonight. Mm-hmm. That's 3 more guys you can bring in, while this Dallas team seems to like to start slow. And our guy HTP noticed something about Luka during that All-Star break. When we seen him again, it looked like he packed on a few pounds, and he just got another couple of days off. If he gained any more weight, this team could come out slow, and he's the engine that runs it. So, I mean, this could be it for Dallas tonight. I think this would be a Spurs money line play.
Yeah, and as someone who ate a lot of food during the All-Star break, I could definitely relate to Luka there. So what do you think about this game, JSU? Are you with Tyler that total's too high? And do you like the Spurs at +4, or would you even take the money line?
Yeah, the Spurs with a pretty much healthy team. I think, solid defensive team the Spurs can be. I really feel like at +4, I think they're definitely the play here. I think they have a good shot to win the game. And yeah, Luka did look heavier when I noticed him too at the All-Star game. I did kind of say that to myself, but again, we've seen this guy. Like, I don't know if I worry about that maybe as much as Tyler, but well, we'll see. I do think that San Antonio, though, with everyone back pretty much healthy, it seems like, besides Vassell, who is still going to be out, I'm pretty sure, with the COVID protocols or condition, whatever they're calling it. So I do think that this is a good spot to get on San Antonio as a dog here, and I think they're the bet. For the total, I do think it is tough. I do think the under, though, is the play, especially with it going all the way up, like Tyler said, to 226. Spurs are a solid defensive team. The Mavericks scare me a little bit because they struggle at times to stop people on defense, it seems like. But overall, I think the under is the play.
All right. Yeah, and talk to me a little bit about these players here that could be in or out right now. So you touched on Devin Vassell being out. I see Rudy Gay and Derek White. They're both probable. Do you expect them to play, and how does that kind of affect you going into building a lineup tonight, whether or not those two are active? Yeah,
so it's going to hurt some guys that were getting some run, not a ton of run anyways, but guys that were getting a few minutes, like filler minutes pretty much, like Luka Samancic or whatever his name is, who was getting, 15 to 20 minutes a night. with those guys out. So it's going to affect, him mainly. Patty Mills was getting a little extra run. Derek White's going to come back in. Now, interesting, Keldon Johnson, when he came back in a couple games ago, and I think it was 2 games ago, they only gave him 11 minutes. The next game, they gave him 22 minutes. And I remember the game before that, he could have played like the protocols. He passed all the protocols, but they said they ruled him out for conditioning. I'm wondering here, first game back off the All-Star break, some of these guys haven't played in multiple games. I'm wondering how many minutes they're going to actually run out Derek White and Rudy Gay. Now, Rudy Gay wasn't seeing big minutes. He was seeing like 20 minutes-ish. But Derek White was seeing 25, 28 minutes, somewhere around there. So that's kind of what I'm wondering from a DFS side is how many minutes are Pop's going to really give these guys that are coming back off of the COVID protocols and stuff like that. So that should be interesting to see. I don't think that's news we're going to get. I think we just got to kind of speculate and you got to go with it. I think Derek White's probably the safer of the two because he was like starting, before and getting big minutes and he was finishing games some of the time. So I think he's probably the safer of the two for sure, especially because Rudy Gay's older, right? He's more of a vet. I could see them being a lot more cautious with a guy like Rudy Gay as opposed to a younger guy like Derek White.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're going to go for the balance build tonight, right, and you're going to cash, you're going to basically just need to choose the right Spurs. That's what I'm thinking, right? I'm looking at it right now.
Well, because their whole team is like the balance build, right? Like
there's 6 good options between 4,500 and 5,500.
Right, in their team though, like DeMar DeRozan is the most expensive guy, and he's $8K.
Yeah.
Right, DeJounte Murray is 7,500, and then after those two, you drop down to 6K for Podol and 5.5 for Aldridge. So like definitely you're going to need some Spurs in there to build out your balanced lineup, even if it's just some of the cheaper Spurs, in that 5K range, which would be guys like Keldon Johnson, who I think Keldon Johnson's a really interesting play because I hope people will look at his minutes and be like, oh, he's not really, getting a lot of run the last 2. It was because he was coming off of conditioning and they literally were worried about his conditioning. I'm going to assume that he's going to be back close to his 28, 30 minutes, somewhere in that range. And so I kind of like him here. His price has come down, right? He was like around 6K at one point, and now he's back down to 5K, 5,100. So I think he's an interesting option here. I think Derek White, if you want to take a shot with someone, I think he's the tournament guy I would take a shot with. Lonnie Walker is definitely going to get hurt from a minutes perspective too, just because he was getting a decent amount of minutes with all these guys out. And now that you bring another guard in like Derek White, I think his minutes are going to stick around the low 20s. So he's another guy I think gets affected where his price went from 3,600. Now he's at 4,900. So I think it's a little high in my opinion, even though it's a 2-game slate. So, he's going to be in play. It's just, I do think it's a little high.
All right. Yeah, that's definitely going to help those people that are building the lineups. And I kind of got it up in front of me right now. So I might have a couple more questions for you before we end the show. Tyler, did you have any props for this game here? What were you looking at for some of these guys? And, are you looking at a Luka under?
I'm not, but one more thing I wanted to touch on the side before we go to the props.
Okay.
I'm not a big trends guy, but Dallas at home this year as a home favorite, they're 4-10 against the spread. Then you look on the other side, the Spurs as an away dog are 6-1 against the spread. So, I mean, that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I wasn't aware of either of those. Dallas, yeah.
Can we just lock the Spurs in and as best bet of the night?
That's what I'm thinking.
I was definitely going to say today, like, I'm not afraid of. Usually, we all try to have our own individual one. Welcome to double up today because with such few options, it's going to be tough for us here. But yeah, so you got that for the side. We definitely all like the Spurs on the side. I've actually already placed the bet. I got +4, -105 on Bookmaker right now during the show while JSU was breaking down the DFS aspects. So tell me about the props, Tyler. Is there any props that you're going to be attacking from this game?
There's only one, and it's going to be
Okay.
DeJounte Murray over 5.5 assists. We're getting this
All right.
at plus money, and I'm not sure why. He's averaging 7.2 assists in his last 5 games. He's covered this 5.5 in his last 6 games.
Uh-huh.
He's got the second highest assist percentage on the team, just behind DeRozan at 30%. He's been playing 30-plus minutes in his last 6 games. I think Derek White may chew into that minute count a little bit, but not much. But, I mean, that puts another guy on the floor for him to get assists off of. If Aldridge sets him a couple screens, he can get assists off of him too. So, I mean, that 5.5, I think, is soft here.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. I would say the reason that it's down when you're comparing it to the last 6 games is the obvious influx of the healthy bodies and the fact that his minutes probably will take a hit. How many minutes did you say he was averaging?
He's playing right around 30 to 36 minutes the last 6 games.
Yeah, so that'll probably drop. What would you say, JSU? With everyone coming back, he probably loses, 3 to 4 minutes?
For like a minutes projection, I'd probably put him around like 31, 32, somewhere around there.
All right. Cool. Well, I'm in that with you too. For me to play it at Bookmaker, I'm going to have to pay the juice, but I only have to go over 4.5. So I think it's correlated correctly. I have 4.5 minus 140. But I think you make some great points, and I do think that he should be able to get up that total, especially that 5.5 at the good number that you're getting. And then Tyler, you can answer these two because this doesn't really take. You don't have to be a DFS expert to choose your stars. When I'm looking at DraftKings, let's say I only put one on the top here today, JSU: Doncic, Westbrook, or Beal. Which one of those, if you can only choose one, which one would you put in your lineup?
I think it's close between Doncic and Westbrook right now for me. I'm gonna probably lean Luka because I do think I honestly think that game has a real good chance to stay somewhat close. Whereas I think Memphis has a chance to beat up on Washington a little bit, kind of like what happened where they end up, it's close for a little while and then they end up running away at the end, kind of what happened last time out. But I do think the Spurs game could be close. Again, we all like the dog here. So, of course, we think that if it's 4, we obviously think the Spurs can keep it really close, possibly win the game. And if that's the case, I just prefer my stud in a game that I project to stay close. Now, I know the other game you're going to say, oh, it's a 3-point spread. So, Vegas is projecting that close too. But I'm just saying I'm higher on the Spurs game, and I'm higher on that game in general. So I'm probably going to lean Luka. But here's the thing, right? Let's for instance say you're stacking the Spurs. Well, if everyone who stacks the Spurs is going to do the same thing, which is play Luka or Porzingis, right? It's not a terrible idea in a way, just from trying to be unique game theory wise, to just instead of playing Luka, play Westbrook. Or play Beal, because that's going to make you somewhat unique in a way. Whereas if you have like a 3 or 4 man San Antonio stack and you don't play someone like Luka and you play Westbrook or Beal instead of them, and one of those guys outscores Luka, even if Luka has a good game, if your guy outscores Luka, then you're going to beat out a lot of those teams that have Luka over him. So just try in a 2-game slate, you got to try and find ways to be unique. And I think that's one of the ways where, in a normal slate, if we're stacking San Antonio, would we want to run it back with Luka? Yes, of course. We want it to stay close. We want there to be scoring back and forth. But when trying to think of ways to be unique, I think that's one way where on a 2-game slate, you can get very unique that way. One other prop, too, I wanted to ask Tyler about. So DeMar DeRozan, in 3 of his last 4 games, has hit 11 assists. I'm seeing DeMar DeRozan double-double plus 325 on DraftKings. I think that's an interesting kind of long shot bet personally, because he's one of those guys who, he always gets double, for the most part, unless they get beaten up. He's always scoring double digits pretty much. And he's the potential to get double-digit assists, double-digit rebounds. He has that type of upside. I'm seeing it at plus 325. I think that's a decent kind of longer shot bet. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, I like that look. I mean, we know he's going to crash the boards. Dallas, I mean, Porzingis isn't going to kill you on the boards. Neither will Dwight Powell. So he might even get a triple double tonight.
But he's the one Spur that if the game stays close, like he's the one we almost can bank on gets the 36, 38 minutes where every other Spur is not going to get that, right? No other Spur we would even DeJounte with all these guys back. Like I said, like I think he's 31, 32 minutes, as a minutes projection. Maybe he gets more, but I think DeRozan for sure gets more in a close game as long as he's not in foul trouble. We've seen him get 40 minutes, even with everyone healthy in there. So I think his minutes ceiling is definitely the highest on that team. And like I said, he's got outs both ways. I think he could get double-digit rebounds. I think he could get double-digit assists. And we know he's going to score if the game stays close. He's going to score 10 points. So I think it's an interesting look.
I got another one for you.
Okay.
FanDuel holds those player performance doubles. DeMar DeRozan double-double and Spurs win is plus 750.
Yeah, I like that.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, that's definitely worth something right there. Yeah, those player performance doubles are a lot of fun.
But yeah, that double-double look, I love that look. I might have to lock that one in.
Tyler, if you were building a DraftKings lineup, would you want, and you can only have one, Luka, Westbrook, or Beal?
I'd probably take Westbrook.
Westbrook?
Yeah.
And that's funny, and that's why I love hearing JSU, because I'm just so simplistic at this thing and still learning. I'm like, okay, it's got the highest total, right? And I got the highest guy on the board. So that's why I was leaning Westbrook too. So this is where we're
the same strategy can be used on that game too. You're stacking Memphis. Well, everyone who stacks Memphis is going to play Beal or Westbrook because those are the only two Washington guys people really want to play from the Washington side. Play Luka instead.
And I love that you're talking about building those unique lineups, because that's another thing that, like, in this whole learning process of me doing the show with you guys and then, taking the stabs at my lineup, I'm building pretty good lineups, but I notice that a lot of times, like you mentioned, I'm not unique. I got guys at 45%, 36%. So even though I'm putting up pretty good numbers, I'm starting to really see, like, how important it is. And now I see, like, why you guys are so detailed when you do the show about trying to find different ways to attack the slate. Because it's not necessarily always building about the best lineup. You need to have that 3% fire in there, that really is going to.
Yeah, and like on a 10-game slate, it's not as needed to be super unique, right? Because there's just so many different combinations and players. You don't have to worry about it as much. Ownership sometimes gets spread out more, but like when you have small slates like this, it is so important. You're not building the optimal. Like in my opinion, anyways, like you're if you're doing that, you're tying with everyone. Like you're gonna tie with everyone who puts their cash line up, like the optimal like whatever. They're gonna throw it in, and it's gonna be duplicated, and you're gonna tie with a billion people. But if you just switch out one or two guys and makes something slightly unique for a guy who's projected lower than a couple guys ahead of him, but maybe you put him in instead of those other guys who are going to be popular because they're popping in projections. It's just going to make you more unique, and you have a better chance of shipping, especially shipping solo, which is something that you always want to do. Even on these 2-game slates, you have a shot to do it if you do it right. But if you just plug in what everyone's playing, if it hits, that's great, but you're probably going to split with 150 people.
All right. And I think that when it comes to building these lineups, right, guys like Tyler and I that aren't DFS experts, just from knowing the NBA, betting the NBA, knowing the totals and the props, we can make our choices on the studs and do pretty well. But where you guys really separate is your ability to grab these lower priced guys. So that being said, like, who would you say, like, are the diamonds in the rough today, like guys that are, lower than 4,500 that you think will round out your lineup today and might be getting you some points? Did you take a look at that yet?
Yeah, so interesting. When you look at like sites, I like to go through. The first thing I like to do is look at the difference in pricing with DraftKings and FanDuel. And sometimes things stick out to you like crazy. And like on DraftKings, Tyus Jones, he's 3,100, whereas on FanDuel, I think he's close to 5K. So there's a big difference in pricing there. And Tyus Jones, we know who he is. He's not going to see like more than 15 minutes of run if the game's close. But if the game gets out of hand, is it possible he gets 20 minutes? Yeah, it's possible. But even in 15 minutes, he has, 25-point upside. He's had in 13, 15, and 16 minutes, he's had 12 fantasy points, 12, 26. He's hit 20, multiple times in his last 10. Again, this isn't a guy where you're rooting for things, right? You're rooting for the game to blow out. You're rooting for Ja Morant to get in foul trouble. So he's more of a guy, if I'm playing Ja, I probably wouldn't play Tyus because I would want to hope that Ja gets in foul trouble and maybe he gets extra minutes that way, right? Maybe, and who knows, maybe it's D'Anthony Melton, who's another guy who I think is interesting for tournaments where he's 4,600 on DraftKings, 6K on FanDuel. So there's a little difference in pricing there. But I do think someone like him, and then taking a shot with a Robin Lopez, who they're going to want to center out to guard Joval, and Robin Lopez is the only center for Washington who is really getting 20 plus minutes. You know what I mean? He's seen 20 plus minutes in 7 of his last 10 games. He's pretty much the only center on this team who's getting it somewhat consistently, because their center rotation is not consistent because they've got Wagner, and then some games randomly Len pops up and plays when Wagner's not playing well. But Robin Lopez seems to be the only constant guy who's getting minutes. And all these guys I'm talking about, I would never even think about playing on a 10-game slate. But when you're talking about a 2-game slate, you got to look at some of these cheap guys who they could see 14 minutes, they could see 20, 25, but you got to play with the game script and how you think the game script could go and how it goes in your favor. And the way, Tyus Jones or Robin Lopez gets more run, foul trouble, anything can happen, blowout run for Tyus, all this stuff is kind of what you root for. So then you build on that pretty much, right? So if I'm playing Tyus, I'm probably not going to stack him with Joval and Ja.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I can't wait to check out to see what type of core you find, because I'm looking through here, right, even as we're talking, and I'm not seeing many diamonds in the rough. I do agree with you about Robin Lopez. You're right. Alex Len could snipe some of those minutes too. And then if Joval gets into foul trouble, you're almost dead. So you almost want, if you take Lopez, you want Joval to stay out of foul trouble as well, right? Because I think their minutes are going to be correlated. Would you even stack them together knowing that?
Yeah, I think you could, just because Robin Lopez is so cheap. And like you said, you probably don't want Joval in foul trouble to get Robin Lopez more run. But I don't even know, to be honest with you, for whatever reason, it seems like they're very comfortable with Robin Lopez and they're not comfortable with Len and Wagner for whatever reason. Because I've seen Len come out there and have good performances, and then I've seen him in spot starts have terrible performances, and they just bench him. So I don't really know what they're doing with their center rotation. To me, I don't know why they wouldn't just let Wagner get more run and give the younger guys some minutes and let him develop a little more, because Robin Lopez isn't their future or anything like that.
Right.
But I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Len played pretty well for us at the Kings the end of last year after kind of being picked up as a throw-in in that Hawks trade with Dedmon and all those guys. And I thought he was going to do really well for Toronto, and he was absolutely terrible. Then he's given us some okay minutes there. I really don't know what to make of the guy. So, but like I said, I mean, there's not a better night to be a member of Run Pure Sports and figure out who you guys are going to put in this core, because I think that you guys are definitely going to have to earn your money tonight. There's not a lot of just obvious plays that everyone's going to be on that are super money. So I'm really interested to see the core that you come up with, JSU, and the core, that AP and Big T come up with, and JT, to see to see the differences in the value that you guys find.
And
So
and
there's
I
not going to be a show for you guys
apologize.
to see tonight.
I apologize. I'm American Josh, but I do apologize. Wagner, excuse me. His name is Wagner, Mo Wagner. Everyone knows who I'm talking about, but thank you, Josh, for calling me out on it. I really appreciate you. And I hope Mo Wagner goes out and smashes for you or something like that. Hopefully you play him, something like that.
And if Josh is not worried about pronunciation, I hope he never watches my WTA podcast, because we absolutely.
God, I hope he doesn't watch like half the videos that we do.
When we're doing those WTA podcasts, I can't even figure out, and I watch it, and the announcers will give you different pronunciations of different players. So
just
it
wait.
can be tough sometimes.
Baseball. Holden literally writes down every player we pronounce wrong, and then at the end of the show, he'll go back and he'll read off all the names of the players we mispronounced.
Oh wow, that's probably got to be a pretty long segment.
It's definitely got to be.
Yeah. So, but let me get this promo off here. Tonight's a great night to be a member of Run Pure Sports, because you're not going to get the video content that you would normally get, right? So Big T's not going to be on. JT's not going to be on. You're not going to know what Man Gun's on unless you're a member of Run Pure Sports. So head on over there, sign up. And while you're there, right, when you go to Burger King, right, and the medium's $1.19 and the large is $1.39, it's twice as much, right? You just get the large even if you're not thirsty, right? Same deal here. Add on the bets package. You see the plays that we're giving out right now, how we're attacking these things. Obviously a 2-game slate, so we're not giving out a ton of bangers. But wait till tomorrow. We're going to have a lot on deck, and there's been so much going on in there. Jay's been absolutely crushing MMA. We got Joey Work doing college basketball and gearing up for baseball season. We got Score with D, a new addition who's been giving out soccer plays left and right, keeping the bets team busy while the NBA was on break. We got HTP, who's been absolutely killing the props and finding some live looks as well in the Discord. Tyler, of course, has been the prop king since day one, and you get to continue to access, talk to him. And like JSU asked him that question, you could do the same thing in the Discord. Like, hey, Tyler, I was looking at DeMar DeRozan, and he's going to go ahead and let you know whether or not he thinks that's a good or not play. And if you guys have been betting for a while, sometimes the best bet is the one that you don't make, right? Because we lose 110, we only get 1 unit, right? So I'd rather someone keep me off a loser than give me a winner. Do you see what I'm saying? Because that's actually making me more money. So that's the great things that we're doing over at runpurebets.com. So please head on over there, check out what we have to offer. We will be back tomorrow. I'll have Titletown for sure, checking in with Hoop, but I'm pretty sure we'll have him. Tyler, are you going to be on tomorrow too as well?
Yeah, I'll be here.
4-way? All right.
We're going to have 4 people, yep.
Yeah, it could be a 2-hour show with the 10-game slate that we've got as well. And then Friday, Tyler and I will be back with AP. Saturday, Tyler and I will be back, I think, with Joey Work. I haven't set that up yet. And then after that, I will give you the schedule for the rest of the week. Tyler, before we get out of here, do you want to give anything to everybody? Oh, wait, we didn't even do best bets yet. I just got so hyped about.
I thought we did.
Promo.
I thought we all agreed on the Spurs already.
Okay, so we're only giving out one best bet today. It's Spurs +4. Although to be fair, I did bet both unders. So if you guys are looking for a little more than that, I think the under is the play in both of that. What's up, Matt? Matt hanging out with us. Love to see it. Tyler, do you have anything besides the Spurs +4 that you want to tell everyone to go ahead and bet?
Just the DeJounte Murray over 5.5 assists. And John Morant, point
scorer.
I'll
throw that one in the Discord too, since it's not like we're overloading their bank accounts today. JSU, anything else you wanted to say before we got out of here?
Nah, just if you didn't already, like and subscribe. Like the video for us. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get notifications when we bring these rundowns to you, because they're coming pretty much every day. I'm pretty sure, right, Spread? So
yeah, I think. It might be like one of those, like, that you do those like 60-day challenges. I might try and do one for every single day of the regular season, but we'll see. I'll announce that like a weekend. Let me see how well I do. Let's see if I end up needing a day off. But I'll tell you what. Speaking of days off, you better enjoy your night off, because these slates that are coming up are packed. Usually Thursday night's like kind of boring, like 3 games, but because of all the COVID and the cancellations, these are going to be jam-packed slates. And I know And that's where like I have so much respect for you guys. When Tyler and I are doing these, right, we can just toss games out the window. Yeah, you know what? I don't really like that game. It came right up to my model. Let's just move on, and we're going to spend more time handicapping another game. You guys can't do that because that game could potentially be the one that breaks the slate. So you can't just pass over a game, like we can on the betting side where we say, you know what, it's lined at -4. My model says -4. We're going to move on to the next one. So you're going to have a lot of work to do, but we're going to have a lot of fun watching those shows and really admiring what you do, and especially the way on the countdown show you're able to process the moves and then give the viewers such as me who are really amateur at the DFS side ways to pivot right away, right? Because there's nothing worse than like say, hey, Derrick Rose gets pulled out, the game starts in 5 minutes. I need to not only replace that salary, but I got to do it well, right? So
Yep.
we love what you're doing out there. We will be back tomorrow. Thank you everybody for watching. Like you said, please like and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow with Hoop, Title, and Tyler. Run pure.